bad news for the U.S. economy and our trade agenda. I think we have some lessons from our experience with China, don't we? One, it's U.S. consumers that pay the full price for these trade wars. If we have tariffs on goods from Mexico, you're going to see prices go up, not only for fruit and vegetables, but for appliances, electronics, automobiles, and light trucks. And then, of course, Kelly, we know retaliation is probably inevitable. And we export twice as much, more than twice as much to Mexico. So they have a very rich target list. It's ironic. We just lowered the steel tariffs and got rid of the retaliation. Now we seem to be ready to do it again. And the final lesson is, it doesn't necessarily bring them to the table. The Chinese position seems to be hardening by the day, and I'm afraid we're going to take what's been a very good relationship with Mexico and push them into a corner and make cooperation on immigration and other issues even more difficult.
Okay. Let me bring in Derek Scissors as well. He's a resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, focusing on U.S. economic relations with Asia. And Derek, I thought it was really interesting that you said, look, you know, we're fighting a sort of ideological battle with China in a way. Mexico has been a winner of that. If we crack down on Mexico now, perhaps people don't shift production and China wins at the margin. And you said only one of these two countries is a brutal dictatorship.
That's right. You know, there is a problem with the border. I'm not an expert on immigration. I just can watch videos and see it. But for my money, we have a much, much better trade relationship with Mexico than with China. And that even ignores the political aspect of this. Mexico just had an election. China is not going to have an election for a long time if Xi Jinping has anything to say about it. We run a trade deficit with Mexico, but Mexico doesn't steal intellectual property all over the world. So I just think using the same tool against Mexico that we do against China is a mistake right off the bat. And
you've said before you think sanctions are a better, Derek, way of dealing with China. I know that Mexico isn't your specialty, but what would be, off the top of your head, a better way to get their attention seriously on the border issue?
Well, I mean, Dan and I disagree on some things. We disagree on our China relationship, but I generally don't like tariffs. I mean, if we have a problem with Mexico letting asylum seekers from other countries cross their territory, let's address that problem directly. What we do with tariffs is hurt ordinary Mexicans and ordinary Americans, and we're not getting directly at that issue. With IP, we would sanction Chinese firms benefiting from stolen IP. The president likes an indirect approach with tariffs, and it hits a lot of people other than the guilty parties.
Dan, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I'd agree with Derek when it comes to Mexico. This is an abuse of the 1977 emergency trade law that the president is citing. It was never intended to impose tariffs against friendly countries. It's been used to sanction and freeze the assets of rogue regimes like Iran. The Finance Committee Chairman Grassley has pointed out we shouldn't be mixing trade and immigration. This goes far beyond congressional authority, so it's creating all sorts of problems. And ironically, it's going to jeopardize passage of USMCA, which is the administration's top legislative priority this year. That's why Ambassador Lighthizer internally opposed the tariffs against Mexico.
Dan,